Hello everyone. So today is one of those awesome perfume videos that I super anticipate filming every year, and it is my winter/Christmas perfume selection. Today we have opulence in scents and opulence in numbers. I've picked quite a few for this winter/Christmas period. A lot of different things, so I'm very excited. Actually, there's going to be a lot of choice, so it's not going to be one of those selections that is limiting to me in any way. Of course, a smaller selection of fragrances for the season will give you an opportunity to sort of have an easy go-to, and you don't have to select too long because it's already quite curated. But for me, I really wanted opulence and I wanted choices for this winter Christmas season. So I chose 7 fragrances, which is quite a lot for me. I usually pick maybe 4 or 5. So let's get into this. My first one is this pick, and this is my everyday go-to. I've been missing it, so I'm really happy to have it back out and proud. This is Chanel No. 5 Eau de Toilette. So the closest formulation that currently exists to the very original Chanel Eau de Toilette. Eau de Parfum really came out a lot later. Eau de Toilette was the first primary original scent that was formulated, and it is, to me, probably the best scent in the No. 5 line, hands down. Au Première comes as a close second, but No. 5 really takes the cake for me. It's gorgeous. First of all, of course, the packaging is excellently designed. It's very classic. It has the classic white CC, and to boot, it is a magnetic closure, which is, of course, my favorite type of closure on basically anything. I think everything should be magnetic. I love magnetic closures on makeup. I love magnetic closures on fragrances, and they don't show up often enough. And this is gorgeous. So this particular bottle was made in France. This is such an everyday, slightly fizzy, very clean musk, which evokes clean, deliciously moisturized skin. It is extremely wearable, elegant, and just screams every day. It's like one of the perfect everyday fragrances that I would totally recommend you try if you like the No. 5 vibe. I think this is excellent. It's not sweet, it's not soapy, it's just not anything. It's just its own thing. Slightly fizzy and effervescent, and very clean smelling without smelling like either lemons or soap. It does smell like soap, but it smells like super expensive boutique soap. It's beautiful. It's lightweight. It's a little bit less creamy than Eau Première. So No. 5 Eau de Toilette is my favorite Chanel No. 5 fragrance, and hands down one of the best that they've ever released. I super recommend you try this if you aren't a fan of current favorites of like fruity, floral, patchouli bombs that are everywhere. So if you want something extremely classic that is going to make you smell rich, No. 5, and it's such a daily fragrance and it's hard to overdose. It wears well, so I don't see any negatives with this one at all. It's gorgeous. The next pick we have here is another super classic fragrance. I really leaned quite classic with this selection of fragrances. The original Shalimar de Parfum. This is really like a very classic, very old school fragrance with a vintage flair. And to me, don't be surprised, but definitely to me, this smells like a unisex fragrance. Although it does have a vanillic base, but that vanilla is burnt, almost like a burnt creme brulee feel. Which I really enjoy. It's unexpected and it's kind of edgy and cool, and it still is, although the fragrance has been around for a long time. So it's a little bit floral, a bit musky, and that slightly burnt vanilla is underlying all that glory and gorgeousness. It's complex. There's spice there, but it's not overwhelming and very wearable. So like I said, I think no eyebrows will be raised if a man wore this, and I think it'd be extremely sexy on male body. For a woman, I think it reads as very elegant and very confident, which is of course something a lot of people would want to go for. So if you want something with a vintage flair that is a little bit edgy and quite cool and interesting, this is an excellent combination of characteristics, I think. So I find this a masterpiece for sure. Go smell this and see what you think. Again, very far from the fruitulis and all of that nonsense with super sweet sugary things. Although I have a couple of sweet sugary things here. One sweet sugary thing really, but which we will talk about, and it's not my favorite, but I'm pulling it out. This is a forever winter fragrance for me. I've worn it for a decade and a half, maybe. I started wearing it, I believe I was either 19 or 20. And this is one of the first fragrances I purchased because this is a fragrance that reminds me of my childhood a lot. My mom's best friend used to wear it. And I was just really captivated by the smell, and it just feels very comfortable and comforting. But for some reason, it always has been associated with winter, so I only wear this with winter, and it's one of the Christmas fragrances that I like to wear as well. Coco, okay, let's get to it. It's the Coco de Parfum from Chanel. So it is a little bit heavier, a little bit headier and denser. Again, it does have that slightly soapy vibe, but also somewhat creamy, warm and cozy. To me, this is an Angora sweater or an Angora shawl kind of feel. It kind of envelops you and cozies you up, and just, for me, comforting, slightly soap smell. Again, that's expensive soap, not quite the same as in number 5, but you can tell that they're kind of related to each other in a way. It is very beautiful, very long wearing. You have to dose it right. Don't go crazy with it. You'll suffocate because it's just going to stay on you forever and ever and ever. Amen. So be careful with Coco. She's tenacious and she is powerful. But if you do get along with her, I think she's gorgeous and beautiful and timeless. And this fragrance is also exceptionally elegant. As you can see, I'm almost out of this bottle. And of course, I'll be repurchasing that one, no questions asked. A pick that isn't quite usual for me because it's a heady, dense floral. Still, the name of the game, apart from the Chanel number 5, is heady, dense fragrances. And for me, this is my Narciso pick for this season. And this is L'Absolu For Her by Narciso Rodriguez. So this is, again, a musky floral, which is what they do, basically. Narciso Rodriguez does those beautiful, creamy, musky florals. Slight variations on them, and I buy them all because they're all fantastic so far. This is one of those slightly denser, slightly more luxury lodge feel, where you would go and ski, but you're not a skier. If you're not a skier, you're one of those people who goes to the lodge to sit there in your thick cashmere socks, read a book, and sip hot cocoa, and not talk to anyone. This is kind of perfect. So if you are into florals and you want a winter floral, I think this is the kind of winter floral that would definitely work for a lot of people. It is slightly romantic, slightly thoughtful, like Narciso fragrances tend to be. It's very well constructed, very beautiful. It does give you this layered sensation. It opens up with the entire story, essentially floral musk, like what Narciso Rodriguez does. So you pretty much know what to expect from that house. Most of the time, that's what they put out, or pretty much all of the time is what they put out. And it's gorgeous. It's what you would expect, and it's probably one of the headier options out of that entire For Her line, and I have a lot of them, so I can compare multiples, and this is one of the heavier, denser, wintry vibe options. So if you like Narciso For Her, and if you want like amp it up and make it even more substantial yet enveloping and kind of romantic, I think that's not bad. Now here's the sweet pick of the bunch. This is, I'm liking it, but I'm not in love with it, unfortunately. I am pulling it out mostly because my husband really likes that scent, and my husband likes anything that smells like sweets or cookies. So he's right in the stream of consciousness of all the perfume houses that what is being released now. A lot of it is just that. So he's loving it. He's like, cookies. I basically want you to smell like cookies, which I don't usually like. So I do keep a few scents on hand if I do want to capture some attention maybe. This is Guerlain La Petite Robe Noire, so little black dress, and this is Black Perfecto. This is the only one out of their line that I would potentially consider repurchasing, but I don't see myself running out of it really because it's not my favorite, so I don't reach for it that much. But it is very pleasant. So little black dress line in its entirety is kind of a little confused because they have like weirdly blueberry things and then sort of cherry raspberry things in it. They have the green one. I used up a bottle of it. It was Eau Fraiche. That really didn't belong in that lineup. I'm not sure what they were thinking releasing it. This one definitely belongs in that lineup. All of them, or most of them I should say, definitely not Eau Fraiche, but most of them can be categorized into that preserves, sweet preserves sort of feel. So if you're into it, that's the kind of thing you're going to find here. Slight florals, very fruity, sweet, sugary base, and whatever top notes they add, but usually those kind of evaporate pretty quickly, so you're really left with these sweet preserves at the end. So if that's what you're looking for, that's what you like, you might find it here. All of them I've tried from that line because I was desperately trying to love the line and I just didn't. I just didn't feel like it was me. I didn't feel like I fit it or it fit me. It fit me. It didn't fit me. It didn't fit with my preferences. The quality wasn't bad, but I didn't find the line very cohesive. It was slightly confused with the way they were putting out some of their fragrances. But in general, I think this is the best out of that entire line. If you want to try one that smells more elevated, a little bit more expensive and more mature, because it's really like it's little girl scents somewhat. I don't like making those blanket statements, but for me it's a very young scent and not necessarily in the best possible way. So Black Perfecto out of the entire lineup does have a little wink in the eye. Like it is slightly humorously maybe ironic in a very good way actually. So this scent does have that sense of humor because it does have leather, or I should say suede underpinning to it, which is what makes it for me more wearable, because sugar berries to me is not wearable because it smells like food. To me, food fragrances, ones that really evoke the feeling of food, are not wearable because there isn't really, like, they emulate food. Of course people like sweets, so people like that scent, but for me that's really not a fragrance, is it? For me it lacks imagination, lacks capacity to surprise, lacks complexity if it is that straightforward. This one is a little bit more interesting than that. So there is this suede, leathery undertone. There's still tons of berries, still tons of sugar, so it's still the same spirit as La Petite Robe Noire is, but it is just a little bit S&M, just a little bit like sugar canes and sprinkles, but a little bit S&M in it. So it's kind of interesting. I like the juxtapositioning. I like the sort of humor in it and the wink and the play with the two opposites. It's nice. It's nice and it's clever. I think this is well constructed, clever fragrance, as opposed to the original La Petite Robe Noire, which was fine and very successful commercially, but it was kind of lackluster in terms of creativity. I found it quite boring in terms of creativity. In fact, I think Black Perfecto is not boring. Out of that entire lineup, that's what I would go for, because this has a sparkle to it. As in, you know, something there. There's something there that is special. So if you do want one of those sugary berry fragrances from the La Petite Robe Noire collection, but you do want a little bit something to it, so you don't want it to be kind of on the boring side, I think Black Perfecto is the way to go for sure. I'm really not selling La Petite Robe Noire collection very well, do I? But I wasn't that impressed with the entire collection. I was only impressed with that particular scent, and because it is still a little bit sweet and a little bit playful, I still like to wear it on date nights. So that one, actually, I do recommend. I'm not sure if it's going to be something that I will repurchase, but I'm thoroughly enjoying it for now. The next one is, apart from Coco, from Chanel, this one is another one of my absolute staples for the winter. This has become one of my necessities for the Christmas season. And this is Replica Maison Margiela, and it's called By the Fireplace. Again, I told you that food isn't necessarily that I like for fragrances to evoke. Okay, I don't mind gourmand notes, but I don't want it to smell like it is actual food, like you smeared food on yourself. I don't like that at all. However, I do like sometimes fragrances that are very precisely evoking a particular time, a particular place. This does that. So this actually smells like a fireplace. It's called By the Fireplace, but it smells like you're smelling fireplace, and it consistently stays that way over a long period of time. Super long wearing, very dense. Be careful with dosing this. This is a very densely sillaged fragrance, so please be careful. You'll suffocate people around you if you aren't too careful with it. Like I said, so concentrated that it's been 2 years and I've used up like a small amount of it, just because you just need a tiniest touch to create that aura, fireplace feeling. It smells kind of like if you're at a bonfire, your hair the next day smells slightly like fireplace, or slightly like the fire that you've been at. Kind of that emotion. And it's very cozy, it's very comfortable, it's beautiful, it's well constructed, and it's very literal. It literally does what it says it does. By the fireplace. It literally evokes the sensation of being at the fireplace. So that's why it's so precious to me, because it is so winter in that way. I can't wear it in any other season. It's just too dense, and it also, I just don't crave it in any other season. But for winter, I wear it a ton, pretty frequently, and if dosed in the minuscule amounts, worn under layers of clothes. So if you want to put it next to your belly button or at the small of your back, you know, pulsatile points that aren't necessarily, you know, the neck and the wrists, then you won't overwhelm yourself and others during the day. So I do recommend you dosing it like that, and very, very small amounts. Very small amount is going to be enough to create that sensation, and it will be kind of magical. If you overdose, it's just going to be suffocating. So I don't recommend that. I recommend using very judiciously, but if you are after the fireplace sensation, this is wonderful. Moreover, again, as I said with Shalimar, I think this is definitely one of those unisex fragrances. Definitely for men, it is like 100% no questions asked. Very suitable for anyone, because it just smells like a fireplace, so anyone can smell like it. But I think for a guy, that'd be an unbeatable fall scent, or unbeatable winter scent maybe. It is interesting, it is intricately constructed, it is beautiful, it is something everyone can associate with and understand and sort of feel nostalgic and good about. Maybe unless you were in a fire somewhere, but you know what I mean. Most people would probably like this. There's probably not going to be anyone who's going to hate it, because it just smells like something we've encountered before, and your brain memory will associate it probably with a fun event. Again, unless you're a firefighter, then you think of work probably. Beautiful, and for men and women, equally recommended by me. The last one I pulled is something I pull often in the colder months, and it is Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille. It is a 100 ml honker. My husband got it for me as a gift, and it is exactly what it says. It smells like vanillic tobacco, which is beautiful, and again, super unisex if you're interested. So those three are the most unisex of the ones that I've pulled, but they were all very beautiful, adult, and interesting, and really well constructed, high quality fragrances. So Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille is one of the exclusive fragrances from their exclusives line. So if you've smelled them, some of them are real catch. And I was super, super impressed with certain scents in that lineup. And they're all well made, but some of them are more interesting than others. Vert d'Enfer, I think, was my absolute most interested in kind of scent. I was really interested in it. Tobacco Vanille is the most wearable one. Anybody can wear it. I really don't see a problem with wearing it for any single human ever. And I think also a crowd pleaser. So it's one of those that smells very luxurious, but nobody will dislike it. So, you know, it's a plus. You can wear it during daytime, but again, very small dose in terms of application. You can blast it for the nighttime if you aren't, you know, in a small confined space. That would be pretty heavy then. But if you aren't, and if you want to draw attention to yourself, tobacco vanille is not a bad way to do it. Nobody's going to hate it. Nobody's going to think it's weird. Nobody's going to think it's in poor taste. It will not be. It will be beautiful. Very wearable. Again, the most, in my opinion, the most wearable out of their line, and a crowd pleaser, and very pretty. A little bit vampy, a little bit leathery, a little bit old library, but very sexy at the same time. This is probably the sexiest one out of the lineup, I would say. Yeah, that's the sexiest one out of the lineup for sure. So I think definitely if finance is no object, you can go for something like this. It is expensive though, so probably the most expensive one that we see here. So that would be the crowd pleaser. Coco is my personal sort of go-to. I can't really judge it because I've had it for so long. It feels like a piece of me. If you want vintage vibes, Shalimar is really good. If you want absolute everyday elegance, number 5, Eau de Toilette is your guy out of what I have here. If you like sweetie sweets with a kick, La Petite Robe Noire, and the rest of them, you already know what I feel about. So, what fragrances are you reaching for this winter / Christmas season? I'm always curious, what are your favorites to wear during that season? I have slight variations, but usually the Replica and the Coco stay, and then everything else kind of shuffles around. You can find the same video from last year, and maybe even from the year before, maybe even from the year before on my channel, and see what kind of selection I had at that point. But you'll probably find Coco in all of them. That's it for today. See you guys later. Have a wonderful day, and good luck to you all. Bye-bye.